After the dot-com bubble, the startup ecosystem completely crumbled. Companies avoided risk-taking and investors only put money into stable places. The situation began to change after the financial crisis. Startups emerged mainly in Silicon Valley and ventured into new markets despite the risks. Usually, people would think that there would be excitement when a new industry emerges, but in reality, the opposite is often true. If you compare cars and horse-drawn carriages, cars excel in every aspect. However, this wasn't the case when cars were first introduced. Early cars were slower than carriages, prone to breakdowns and much more expensive. Moreover, unlike feeding hay to a horse-drawn carriage, cars required a new element called gasoline, which was hard to find at times. People left their comfortable and reliable carriages behind, mocking who would ride such a contraption. The same goes for digital cameras. Early digital cameras had nothing better to offer compared to film cameras. They had short battery life, lower image quality, and were pricier. The pioneer in making digital cameras was none other than Kodak, a leader in the film camera industry. Kodak believed that digital cameras wouldn't replace film cameras and focused only on their existing industry. However, as time went on, digital cameras improved gradually and eventually completely replaced film cameras. Kodak went bankrupt. Falling behind in change comes at a harsh cost. The startup fever was not limited to developed countries alone. Emerging economies like China and India also saw numerous startups emerging. These countries strategically nurtured related industries as a means to overcome inadequate infrastructure. For instance, due to a lack of internal combustion engine technology, they shifted to electric cars directly, or due to insufficient card payment infrastructure, they moved straight to mobile payments. Industries like electric vehicles, easy payment systems, drones, and the sharing economy have already surpassed South Korea and China. Most startups are bound to fail. Yet, countries strive to foster the ecosystem because one surviving startup can more than make up for others' losses. Additionally, failure is a valuable asset. Failing means gaining diverse experiences in the process. There are numerous cases where entrepreneurs who failed multiple times eventually succeeded after a new attempt. In Israel, the government lends money to startups, and if they succeed, they repay triple the amount borrowed. If they fail, no blame is imposed. However, in Korea, if you fail, that's the end. A person who fails is stamped as a loser, unable to receive startup support again, and in severe cases, may end up taking on joint debts and becoming a defaulter. Furthermore, existing industries are monopolized by large corporations, and various regulations hold back progress. Therefore, there is talk that Korea is a graveyard for startups. Nevertheless, many entrepreneurs armed with ideas and passions still jump into the market. Although the Korean startup ecosystem may be chaotic, it is currently the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution. To put it metaphorically, even though the soil is barren, the weather is favorable. If you look among Korean startups, you may find some good companies. It should be relatively easy for us to connect with entrepreneurs as we are here in Korea. Unfortunately, we do not have any proposals from Korea among the materials we have received. This is in stark contrast to the overflowing number of proposals from Chinese startups. The reason behind this is the absence of a Golden Gate branch in Korea. There are only small branches handling securities and banking operations in Korea, with major operations overseen by the Asia branch in Hong Kong. However, being a global investment bank, Golden Gate is interconnected with domestic investment firms. Perhaps through this network we can obtain the necessary information. Just then another email containing data arrived. Are things going well? I replied to Hyunju. I also need information from domestic sources. Please send it as you find it. Taikyu sorted out the proposals by industry first. Sharing economy, O2O services, SNS services, e-commerce, big data, artificial intelligence, IoT, mobile payments, robotics, and more. I went through each proposal and classified them into 3 categories: feasible, not feasible, and uncertain. Taikyu handed me the requested coffee and asked, "What are your classification criteria?" It's just my intuition. There are things that I feel. Unlike the clear visions that come to mind, this intuition is a bit subtle. It can be distinguished from the 5 senses, but I can't quite explain it. I put down my materials for a moment, sipping coffee as I pondered. Initially, random visions kept popping up in front of me repeatedly. The first time I felt something different was during the L6 case. When I focused all my energy, I could even predict the timing. Does gathering information and focusing allow you to see more? Taikyu, who heard my story, said, "That's a plausible thought. The more you write, the more you feel." There's also the phenomenon of using rumination theory. Wasn't that theory proven wrong? What is gained through acquired effort isn't passed down to future generations. Therefore, it doesn't hold much meaning for the evolution of species. Nevertheless, from an individual's perspective, it holds significance. After all, it is a fact that studying improves the mind and exercising improves the body. So, perhaps one day one could control their precognitive abilities as they wish? It's been 10 days since the new year began. During this time, I haven't set foot outside my house at all. I've ignored all incoming calls, pouring all my time into reading project proposals. Even eating, cleaning, and sleeping seemed like a waste of time. Taikyu took care of everything else. He made coffee regularly and cooked meals when needed, though they were all ordered. I scratched my head, muttering to myself, "It seems like it will come into view soon if we wait a little longer. Why can't you see any precognition among all these companies?" Taikyu said to me, "It's only been a few days since I started that. It's not something urgent, why rush it like that?" Well, that's true. I worry that if I let go of it now, even the current feeling will disappear. Do it while taking a break. Sometimes rest is necessary too. It's a valid point, but coming from someone who always takes breaks, it lacks persuasiveness. Anyway, just working hard doesn't guarantee success. I should wash up first. I put down the materials I was holding and got up. Entering the bathroom, I saw a disheveled man in the mirror. Eyes droopy, hair messy, beard untamed. Who would think I'm in my 20s looking like this? I turned on the shower. Whoosh. Feeling the hot water, my tension eased and drowsiness crept in. I can't fall asleep here, though. At that moment, a hologram appeared before my eyes. Surprisingly, it didn't end there. More holograms appeared one after another. I stared at dozens of holograms in front of me while the shower water continued to pour. Finally found the horned horses, unicorns. When I opened my eyes, the sun was still up. I thought I had slept for quite a while. How many hours did I sleep? Ugh. My mouth felt dry. I went to the living room to drink some water. Taikyu was sitting in the living room. "I need some water." "Here you go." Taikyu handed me a bottle of water. I gulped it down quickly. "Are you okay?" After finishing a 500 milliliters bottle of water, I asked. "How long did I sleep?" 2 or 3 hours. "You probably slept for about 20 hours. "What?" Taikyu pointed at the clock with his finger. The clock's hands were pointing at 10 in the morning. To sleep without waking up at all for 20 hours. I must have been really exhausted. I tried to recall the situation before falling asleep. I saw a vision during the shower. And then I remember rushing out of the shower room shouting random company names. This isn't some Archimedes, also known as Eureka Grandpa, moment. I tried to remember the names of the companies, but I couldn't recall anything. My mind was blank, as if it were a blank sheet of paper. Did the visions just vanish? Lost in contemplation, I didn't know what to do. Taikyu asked me in surprise. "Hey, what's wrong all of a sudden?" "Something's wrong. I can't remember what I thought of." Taikyu, looking puzzled, showed the paper. "What's this?" "You've already written everything down," he said. "Oh, really?" I breathed a sigh of relief as I looked at dozens of company names scribbled on A4 paper as if it were crumpled. I can't even remember writing them down. It seems like I wasn't in my right mind. I've categorized the things you mentioned separately. The cluttered surroundings filled with documents were tidied up neatly, with only a pile of papers left on the table. "Could you make some coffee?" "Sure." I skimmed through those proposals again. Is this what they mean by foresight? Just having foresight doesn't finish the job. On the contrary, having foresight means starting work now. Unlike buying stocks of listed companies on the exchange, acquiring stakes in unlisted companies is not straightforward. You have to contact founders and go through negotiation processes. The problem is that we currently lack the organization for that. I'm no negotiation genius either. Shouldn't we build the organization first before investing? I shook my head. We don't have the time for that. It will take at least a few months to establish an investment firm and gather the necessary talent. Think about it. We picked these companies from the proposals rejected by Golden Gate. Do you think they'd just sit back sulking and stay stuck in this place because they were rejected? So, they're probably spamming the proposals to find other investors. If we wait too long, they'll probably get funding elsewhere. Moving urgently is not necessary, but it's best to hurry as much as possible. So what should we do? If we can't do it on our own, we need to seek help. I said to Taekyu, let's also contact Hyunju Nuna. The world's largest investment bank, Golden Gate, has branches all over the world as befitting a global IB. Among these branches in Asia there are a total of 3. One each in the world's second and third largest economies, China and Japan, and one in Hong Kong. There were talks of establishing a branch in Korea at one point, but it fell through after the 2008 financial crisis. As a result, Korea still operates under the Asia branch, alongside the ASEAN region. At the Golden Gate building in central Hong Kong, financial professionals of various nationalities and races worked. Among them was Oh Hyunju. She joined Golden Gate right after finishing her MBA and was transferred to the Asian branch from the New York headquarters 3 years ago. As a Korean, she mainly handled tasks related to the Korean market, making her frequent trips to Korea. Returning late from work, instead of going to her apartment, Hyunju sat on the terrace of a coffee shop overlooking Victoria Harbor, opened her laptop, and saw an email from her younger brother's friend with a PDF file attached containing dozens of startup listings. After meticulously reviewing the proposals for hours, she closed her laptop, lit a cigarette, and immersed herself in thought. Investing in startups can yield significantly higher profits than investing in established companies once successful, but the risk of failure is considerable. She wanted to advise investing in safer options, but they earned $670 billion from an initial investment of $13 billion. Can this be considered just luck? Maybe they have exceptional talent. After finishing her thoughts, Hyunju made a phone call to Korea. I checked my email. How are the plans going? The person on the other end responded as if they had been waiting for her question. I will officially request investment intermediation and personnel dispatch to Golden Gate. Please come to Korea, Nuna. We are planning to invest in a startup. However, if any startup suddenly receives an investment offer from a company called OTK Company, they may suspect it to be a joke or a scam. Therefore, the intervention of a reputable organization is needed. If Golden Gate steps in as an intermediary, startup executives will trust and meet with them. Since investment regulations vary by country, that aspect should also be considered. It is natural for fees to be incurred when entrusting work. How much would the commission be? Hyunju Nuna forwarded an email stating the investment interest in the companies I selected. She then began negotiations with Golden Gate. In the meantime, I drafted detailed investment strategies. Even though we could delegate everything and leave it alone, this time I plan to experience firsthand what investing entails. How do we meet foreign startups? We should invite them to Korea. The more concerning issue is for Korean startups. After the L6 bankruptcy incident, we captured the attention of global financial institutions. While the Financial Supervisory Service in Korea initiated an investigation, it was halted due to a lack of information. If OTK Company starts investment activities in the Korean market, the Financial Supervisory Service will not remain idle. If we haven't done anything wrong, we should be fine, right? Yes, but the problem is the high possibility of our true identity being exposed during the investigation process. Once the truth is revealed, the media and public opinion won't stay silent. Our names will appear in newspapers and news, and our graduation albums and past actions will be circulating on the internet. To reiterate, if we make money through short selling regardless of right or wrong, we will face criticism. Furthermore, since we have set up a corporation for tax evasion purposes, the criticism against us will be even more severe. While well-known celebrities or speculative investors may enjoy such situations, we do not. Both of us are already content with our current lifestyles. And thought of my mother. Even if only the fact of winning the lottery prize is revealed, phone calls come from all directions and strangers loiter around the house. Can my mother really live comfortably in the old house? It's better to hide until you can hide as much as possible. Taekyu, who heard my story, nodded. If that happens, it will be difficult to go out of the house comfortably. Or you can go around with bodyguards. I sighed. Just thinking about it is terrible. Are you thinking of giving up on investing in Korean startups? No. What sin is there in startups that cannot receive investment? What sin are we committing by not being able to invest? If OTK company does it indirectly, it should be fine. I had thought of another way. I picked up my phone and made a call. Before the signal could ring a few times, the other person answered the call. Have you been well? I've been waiting for your call. Could you please look for an office in Gangnam? The size should be between 100 to 200 square meters. I was about to say I'd explain the reason later, but the other person didn't ask or probe. I'll check right away. If you find a suitable place, you can handle the contract yourself. I will deposit the down payment from here. Got it. Golden Gate's investment intermediation contract was completed. The person in charge was naturally decided as Hyunju Nuna. Nuna's team members are scheduled to help us with our work. The commission is set at 1.8% of the total investment amount, with a minimum commission of $3 million determined. If you invest $100 million, you will pay $1.8 million in commission, and if you invest $500 million, you will have to pay $9 million as commission. Even if you don't invest a penny, you still need to pay $3 million without fail. Taekyu, upon hearing the conversation, was completely surprised. Just connecting the dots costs this much? I heard there's a friend discount even. If it weren't for Nuna Hyunju, I would have had to pay double. Though willing to pay enough, the thought of actually paying made it hard to stomach. It's not just a few $1 million. Now that it's come to this, I need to work hard enough to make the commission worthwhile. We headed to Apgujeong by car. The destination was a high-end Chinese restaurant. What? Why another Chinese restaurant? Please, let's stop eating black bean noodles. Taekyu shook his head. It was reserved by Nuna, not me. Well, nothing we can do about it. Before the real work began, Nuna Hyunju came to Korea first. As soon as the preparations here are done, the rest of the people will come. We entered the reserved room. Nuna Hyunju was already there. You're here early. I took a taxi as soon as I got off. The traffic wasn't bad. She seemed tired, perhaps from the flight. Still, she maintained her intellectual and beautiful appearance. Let's have a meal. Hyunju Nuna called a waiter to place the order. Have you been here often? The main branch is in Harbor City, so I often go there. This is my second time here. The food was placed on a rotating glass plate on the table. Diners would turn the plate to bring the desired food closer to them and eat it. Next, the chef appeared holding a sizzling plate of Beijing duck and proceeded to carve it in front of us. This is the real deal when it comes to Chinese cuisine. Come to think of it, it's been a while since I ate out. I've been cooped up at home, only eating delivery food all this time. As we dined, I discussed my future plans and investment strategies with Hyunju Nuna. So when is that person coming? They'll be here soon. I deliberately called him about an hour late. Shortly after, a tall, well-dressed man entered the room. It was Senior Sanjiap. Welcome, Senior. I said, looking at Hyunju Nuna. This is the Park Sanjiap I mentioned earlier. Senior Sanjiap asked me, who is this person? She's Oh Hyunju, Taekyu's older sister. Oh, the one working at Golden Gate that you mentioned before. I added some context. She graduated from Korea University with an economics degree. She's 10 years senior to me. Senior Sanjiap nodded at my words. He then lowered his head and said in a loud voice, Nice to meet you, Senior. I am Sanjiap Park from the mathematics department. I look forward to working with you. With his big build and short hair, it seemed like a big boss was greeting a gangster. Hyunju Nuna didn't hesitate and extended her hand calmly. Nice to meet you. I am Oh Hyunju. Senior Sanjiap politely shook her hand. You can speak comfortably. You are like a sky-like senior. Nuna Hyunju smiled. I'll gradually get comfortable. We took our seats. Why did you want to see me? First have your meal. We'll talk slowly. Got it. Senior Sanjiap ate with a good appetite, not being polite. After the meal was somewhat finished, I stood up and got to the main point. We are planning to establish an investment company as a subsidiary of OTK Company in Korea. OTK Company will fully invest and the capital will be 70 billion. Taekyu and Nuna Hyunju, who already knew, nodded, but Senior Sanjiap, who heard this just now, widened his eyes. Recently, billions do not sound like much, but 70 billion is a large capital, enough to establish a small to medium-sized securities firm. Of course, to really do that, you have to go through the relevant authorities for approval. Looking at Senior Sangiop, I said, I plan to entrust that company to you. Senior Sangiop was surprised by the sudden words. To me. For now, let's set the salary at 100 million. This is a large amount compared to initial salaries in finance, but the important thing is not that. Based on performance, I will give you ownership of the subsidiary. 2% per year, up to a maximum of 10% over 5 years. Wow. It's a kind of stock option concept, and this offer is quite groundbreaking. Even if the company assets do not increase but remain constant, one would receive 1.4 billion won per year and a total of 7 billion won after 5 years. As I anticipate, by then the assets would have increased at least tenfold. There's nothing to get too excited about. If performance is lackluster, you'll be fired immediately. Even if you don't last a year, we'll still pay you the promised salary. Sangiop Sr. had a perplexed expression. What on earth makes you entrust me with a subsidiary worth 70 billion won? With these conditions, one can easily hire a highly experienced and exceptional financial professional. Despite this, there must be a good reason for making such a proposal to a school senior. I trust your decisiveness and sense of responsibility. Sangiop Sr. never missed a looming investment opportunity. When he turned 5 million won into 50 million won by investing in MK Tech in the past, eagerly purchased SB put options upon hearing about L6, and approached me promptly. People's true nature is revealed when they hit rock bottom. Even after losing all his assets and falling into debt with CL Chemical call options, he never touched club dues. Without giving up or getting disheartened, he worked at the bottom for years to clear his debts. While skilled individuals are easy to find, trustworthy ones are hard to come by. I need an organization that will move like my hands and feet according to my foresight. There may be no one more suitable than Sangiop Sr. to entrust in growing such an organization. Want to give it a try? If you're not confident, speak up now. He probably knows. This is a rare opportunity that may not come again in life. Sangiop Sr. nodded firmly. I'll give it a shot. You've made a good choice. You've truly become a family member now. Clap clap. When Taekyu first clapped his hands, Hyunju and I joined in, applauding. Sangiop Sr. bowed awkwardly. Thank you. I will do my best for OTK Company. Taekyu inquired. By the way, what's the name of the subsidiary? I thought of naming it K Company after the last letters of OTK. Hyunju added, Isn't that a bit hastily decided? I remained silent. Delving deeply into naming even the company seemed too much trouble. So for Senior Sangiop, who joined later, I explained the plan again. From now on, OTK Company will invest domestically and internationally. Our task is to meet startups in need of funds, invest in them, and acquire shares. The establishment of the subsidiary proceeded swiftly. The complex administrative procedures were handled by Hyunju, who had entrusted a foreign law firm. K Company was established in Korea, with OTK Company injecting 70 billion. A lease agreement was made for the 5-story building on Tehran. It was a distance of 5 minutes by car or a 20-minute walk from the Taekyu house. OTK Company would directly handle foreign startup investments, while K Company would manage Korean startup investments. I handed the USB to Senior Sangiop. Here's the list of startups that K Company needs to invest in. I've arranged the meetings in advance, so you'll have a lot scheduled. Golden Gate will provide the necessary workforce, so discuss the extent of share acquisition or legal issues with them. Corporate investments can be broadly classified into 2 main approaches. One is lending money and the other is acquiring shares. Startups in need of funds often seek investments even if they have to reduce their shares. However, if the company fails to grow or goes under, the share value becomes worthless. On the other hand, loans allow for the recovery of principal and interest in priority. Of course, if the company fails, it may not be recoverable. That's why sometimes managers provide personal guarantees. Are you thinking of participating in the management by any chance? No. When you acquire shares, you gain decision-making power proportionate to your shareholding. Therefore, there are often cases where companies are taken away from investors who made wrong investments. Startup founders are most worried about this aspect when receiving investments. I will invest but will not intervene in management at all. I can't manage a field that I did not know of from the beginning. Let the managers manage on their own and we'll just reap the benefits of growth. Well then, good luck. After ending our brief meeting, Taekyu and I got into the car. We have booked a room at a 5-star hotel on Yangjiang Island and reserved a meeting room for the investment meeting. This is the real beginning now. The reason we chose a hotel in Yangjiang Island as our meeting place is because it is close to Incheon Airport. Golden Gate Korea employees were dispatched to bring in those who flew in for investment and manage them until their departure. Money truly does make the world go round. After roughly unpacking our bags in the room, we headed down to the cafe in the lobby. Hyunju, who arrived here a day before us, was sitting there sipping coffee while reading some documents. When will the lawyer arrive? He just landed at Incheon Airport. He'll be here soon. Golden Gate has its legal team. The lawyer coming this time is said to be an international law expert from the Asia office working with Hyunju. As we waited while drinking coffee, Hyunju raised her hand. Here, Ellie. Taejayu and I turned our heads simultaneously. She looks to be in her early 20s. About 170 centimeters tall, her face had a mature yet cute vibe. Her skin was fair and her eyes were a light brown. She had short brown hair in a neat bob cut, with bangs falling gracefully over slightly covered eyebrows. From her appearance alone, it was hard to guess her nationality. She seemed like she could be Caucasian, but one thing was for sure. She was incredibly beautiful. I wondered if I was the only one thinking that as everyone in the cafe turned their gaze towards her. Wearing jeans and a casual jumper, she approached us with her suitcase. Thank you for coming, Ellie. Long time no see, Jessica. How are you doing in Korea? After greeting Hyunju, she also exchanged greetings with us. Hello, I'm Ellie Kim, the Golden Gate attorney. Surprisingly, she spoke fluent Korean. I had imagined a middle-aged gentleman as a lawyer, but a young beauty in her 20s. I stood up from my seat and introduced myself. I'm Kang Jin-hoo. Do you speak Korean? Ellie smiled and replied, my father is Korean. Just call me Ellie. Taekyu also stood up and bowed. I'm Oh Taekyu. Ellie nodded. You're Jessica's younger brother. I've heard a lot about you. Nice to meet you. After the brief introductions, she went upstairs to unpack. I quickly asked Hyunju Nuna, where is she from? She was born in Hong Kong, so she's a Hong Konger. Hong Kong was originally Chinese territory but became a British colony after the Opium Wars. It was returned to China in 1997 but maintains the one country, two systems policy. Hong Kongers often identify more as Hong Kongers than Chinese due to their unique history and governance structure. Hyunju Nuna briefly explained about Ellie. Hong Kong has been a financial hub in Asia for elite individuals from various countries. Foreigners make up a significant portion of the population there. Ellie's grandfather moved to Hong Kong during the Japanese occupation, married a Hong Kong woman and had a son. This son later married an English woman he met during business, and Ellie was born with Korean, Hong Kong and British heritage. Hong Kongers usually speak 3 languages: Cantonese, Mandarin and English. Cantonese is the local language. Mandarin is the Chinese standard language, influenced by Britain's colonial past. In addition to these languages, Ellie also knows Korean, thanks to her Korean father. I said, at that age, working as a lawyer at Golden Gate, it's really impressive how many remarkable people there are in the world, I added. Hyunju giggled. If we're talking about impressive, you're not too shabby yourself. Taekyu had a vacant expression since earlier. Why is he acting like this? Did he suddenly get nervous because a beauty appeared? Thinking that way, he blinked and asked, someone said I'm Jessica's younger brother. Who is Jessica anyway? Hyunju replied, my English name. I told you before. Oh really? Since Hong Kong was a British colony for a long time, people there often had both English and Chinese names. Being an American IB company, Golden Gate likely uses English names. So, does Ellie know about us? Hyunju nodded. I told her. The fact that we own OTK company is something even Golden Gate isn't aware of. They might be aware of the special relationship between Hyunju and us. She's helped with opening accounts and setting up subsidiaries, and now she's requested a secondment in the name of OTK company. Ellie came here to assist us with legal matters. She will be working with us for a while. It's better to clearly understand things to handle work smoothly. No need to worry about information leaking, Taekyu said, sounding skeptical. Can we trust her? He added. Hyunju simply said, yes. Lawyers have a duty of confidentiality. Lawyers are obligated to protect the confidentiality of their clients. They could face disbarment for breaching this regulation. Despite that, if Hyunju Nuna is speaking this confidently, it should be trustworthy. Will you keep it a secret during the meeting too? I have considered that aspect as well. I will delegate everything regarding the investment contract to Nuna. In fact, since I have signed the investment brokerage agreement, I don't need to take the lead. However, attending is my choice. I want to personally see who is running the company I intend to invest in. Ring. Hyunju Nuna, after checking the message, got up. Shall we go for the investment then? Toby Strong and Gerard Bacon are seniors and juniors from Stanford University. They got along well since their school days and decided to work together after graduating. The startup frenzy that began in Silicon Valley spread across the United States. Toby and Gerard also ventured into startups but faced several failures. Nevertheless, they were not greatly discouraged. They were young and passionate. They brainstormed for a new business in a shabby studio apartment. One day, while sorting computer hardware, Toby came up with a brilliant idea. Toby immediately shared the idea with Gerard, and they spent days analyzing its business viability. They swiftly started the business. Despite being in the early stages, the future looked bright. They were confident of success. If their idea materialized, it could bring significant change to the world. However, to continue the business, they were in desperate need of investment. While Toby was engrossed in work, Gerard sought out investors. However, it wasn't easy to find investors. Knocking on doors here and there with a business plan in hand, but being constantly rejected became a routine. The investment fervor of Wall Street IBs and Silicon Valley IT companies was just as intense as the hot startup scene. Articles about newly founded startups securing massive investments poured in every day. However, in reality, only a small fraction of startups received investments. It was a harsh reality that most entrepreneurs couldn't find investors. Back in his cramped studio apartment, Gerard shouted angrily, "Are they all just reading the business plan and giving us the cold shoulder?" Toby calmly replied, "We can't give up like this. There must be investors out there who understand our business. The conditions needed to attract investment are simple. Demonstrate a business that will succeed. Investors will then generously open their wallets. But to show tangible results, you first need investment funds. If we don't find investors within the next month, it will be tough to sustain the website. Let's get back out there starting tomorrow." Darn it. Gerard lay down on the sofa, closing his eyes. Ping. As Toby checked his phone for an email, his eyes widened as he read it. "Why are you so surprised?" "It's Golden Gate. They contacted us after seeing our business plan." Gerard's eyes widened at Toby's words. "What? Golden Gate wants to invest in US?" "No, not Golden Gate directly, but an investment company in Korea is interested in us." "Korea? The country where Samsung Electronics is from? I like Samsung smartphones. Except for the L6. They hope to meet us soon. They said they'll send us plane tickets to Korea if we confirm the date." The two faced each other. It seems to be real. The sender of the email is Golden Gate, and the person who sent the email is the team leader of the Golden Gate Asia office. Surely a globally renowned investment bank wouldn't joke like this. Just because you meet with investors doesn't mean you'll definitely get investments. After the meeting, they might change their minds or the details may not align. Investment is something that you won't know for sure until the contract is signed. Could it be a wild goose chase all the way to Korea? But for now, they must cling to even the slightest hope. Let's go for now. If it doesn't work out, we can just consider it a trip to Korea. But isn't Korea dangerous? They say some lunatic threatens to detonate a nuclear bomb. *TL/ and they should be talking about North Korea. At any rate, they boarded a flight to Korea. The hotel meeting room was surprisingly spacious. There were computers and projectors making presentations possible. Hyunju adjusted her outfit and put on her glasses. Next to her sat Ellie, both dressed in black suits. I had seen Hyunju ever since I was young, but this was the first time seeing her work. This must be what they mean by a financial elite. I too wore a suit today. I hastily bought one before coming here. On the other hand, Taekyu was in his usual gray tracksuit. "Geez, anyone would think he's just a part of the furniture." I asked Taekyu, who was yawning, "Aren't you nervous at all?" "Why should I be nervous? It's not me who should be regretting right over there. It's not a wrong statement. If they needed investments, would investors come all the way to Korea just on the basis of having investors? But why am I feeling so nervous? My lips were dry and my hands were sticky with sweat. I never imagined I would be meeting entrepreneurs from the perspective of an investor. Hyunju, looking at me, said, "Don't be nervous. Just do as you've learned." Oh, okay. Right. Just do as you've learned. But what have I learned? I looked at the meeting schedule. See, the startup we will meet for the first time is. I looked through the proposal again and was surprised. Of all the startups, why is it them that we're meeting first? Seeing me flustered, Ellie asked, "What's wrong?" Oh, that's. Before I could say anything, two foreigners walked into the meeting room. A small man with blonde curly hair and glasses, and a chubby young man with a brown scruffy beard. Both were not exactly conventionally attractive. If I were to express it, perhaps they had a vibe similar to Western otakus. The two young men who crossed the Pacific in search of investors greeted us as they looked our way. "Nice to meet you. I'm Toby Strong." "Glad to meet you too. I'm Gerard Bacon." Hyunju, Nuna and Ellie stood up and shook hands with them. "Nice to meet you. I am Jessica Oh from Golden Gate." "I am Ellie Kim. Thank you for coming all the way here." Then Hyunju Nuna introduced us and the conversation naturally took place in English. I looked at the two men. It was hard to gauge their ages as foreigners, but since they recently graduated from Stanford, both must be in their 20s. Not only them but most entrepreneurs are in their 20s and 30s. They may lack experience, but they confidently challenge the new industries with passion and drive. While young people in other countries start businesses, Korean youths gather in study villages preparing for civil service exams. This is not because the Korean youth lack a spirit of challenge, but rather the fear of failure and disgrace that comes with it. Well, even I aim to secure a stable job in the financial sector. After the introductions, we took our seats. The discussion on business began. Toby cleared his throat nervously and took a few sips of water. A successful company should be able to summarize the essence of its business in just one line. For example, FaceNote spans various fields like SNS services, games, advertising, messaging, and VR, but its core business can be simplified as connecting the world as one. If one cannot summarize the core essence and goes on, even the stakeholders would not know what to do. Luckily, Toby succinctly stated the core of the business. The goal of Faceit is to be the net play in the pornography industry. Phew. Ellie coughed as if she had heard it right. Taikyu was also surprised. He seemed to understand the word, pornography. Luckily, Hyunju Nuna showed no change in expression as if she hadn't read the proposal. Unlike the confident twosome, I hung my head low. Why is embarrassment always my share? It's probably because I'm the one who decided to invest in this company. Even if Hyunju Nuna is fine with it, I wonder what the woman, Shuri, I met a few hours ago thinks of this situation. Thinking so, I glanced to the side. Ellie promptly stopped coughing like a pro and focused on the conversation. Toby began the explanation in earnest. To understand the business of Faceit, one must first know about Netflix. Netflix is an American company that produces and streams videos. Initially, DVD rentals were its main business focus. Then, in 2006, they expanded into streaming services. From then on, Netflix began to grow rapidly. People binge-watched the movies or dramas they wanted to see and then wondered what to watch next. So, Netflix started recommending the content consumers wanted. Initially, it was a simple method. If you liked romance, it recommended romance. If you liked comedy, it recommended comedy. However, as the number of subscribers increased and data accumulated, the system became more sophisticated. The content consumers watched became data stored on servers, analyzing various preferences such as favorite actors, directors, and genres, and recommending other content tailored to their tastes. Consumers were highly satisfied with this system. Eventually, Netflix had a thought. Instead of only recommending content, why not create it themselves? Thus, Netflix reached into original production. Using the data they had accumulated, they selected genres, actors, and directors that many consumers liked, and the content they produced became a huge hit. Currently, Netflix has 80 million subscribers and a market capitalization of over $50 billion. The current size of the global pornography industry is estimated to be $15 billion in the United States and possibly several $100 billion worldwide. including illegal files. In other words, pornography is a massive market. The word porn that kept coming up piqued Taikyu's interest immensely. What are you talking about? I briefly interpreted only the essential parts for him. Toby confidently continued his explanation. In the past, the porn industry led technological advancements and grew. But today's porn companies are just following past practices and falling behind in adapting to changes. Just like how Netflix dominated the OTT market with advanced digitalization, AI, and machine learning, the porn industry now needs to innovate in distribution and production. Hyunju and Ellie looked impressed. They seemed unsure if it was a serious discussion or a joke. Ellie asked me, "Is this true?" Well, it is true to some extent. It's not just a joke to be brushed off. Pornography indeed has close ties to technological advancements. Particularly, porn played a significant role in the proliferation of home videos. Back then, VHS and Sony's Betamax competed in the videotape format market. Betamax was superior to VHS in terms of size and picture quality. However, when Sony opposed adult content on Betamax, the porn industry flooded the market with VHS porn videos, leading to Betamax's market exit and integration with VHS. Porn also had a significant impact with the widespread availability of high-speed internet and increased hard drive capacities. The internet sped up for downloading porn and hard drives increased in capacity for storing it. It is not an overstatement to say that humans develop technology to be used in the sex industry, and they innovate in technology to be used in the sex industry. Taikyu, who had been quietly listening, made a comment. That reminds me of a famous quote from the CEO of Seagate. Seagate is a prominent hard drive manufacturer. Ellie asked, "What did he say?" Toby hesitated as he heard the word CEO of Seagate, then exclaimed, "Let's face it, we're not changing the world. We're building a product that helps people buy more crap and watch porn." Taikyu nodded in agreement. "You must have made that statement." Roughly translated, it means, let's be honest, we're not changing the world. We're just making items that help people buy more useless software and watch more porn. It's somewhat surprising that a CEO would say such a thing directly, but it's so true. Even if you've used all the operating systems and essential software out there, it wouldn't add up to 100 gigabytes. So why would hard drive capacity need to reach several terabytes? Some might even find that insufficient and regularly clean up their hard drives. Toby remarked. Impressed by those words, we named the company Facete. Upon hearing the translation, Taikyu nodded. "Oh. I didn't realize there was such a profound meaning behind the company name." Now Jared stepped in. It seems Toby handles the business side while Jared is in charge of the technical aspects. Jared explained, "On our current website, users can input their age, preferences, favorite actors, etc., and it automatically recommends recent works and links to purchase sites. The site is currently free to use with about 800,000 subscribers. While the growth in subscribers was steep, it is now approaching a plateau. However, once people sign up, they tend to continue visiting the site. Over 10% visit daily and over 40% revisit within a week. This indicated that the recommendation system is working to some extent. We aim to recommend content tailored to consumers like Netflix does, and our primary goal is to provide streaming and download services in line with consumers' tastes. Well, there's quite a variety of startups out there, even if they seem absurd at first glance. Regardless of how strange it may sound, business is business." Nuna Hyunju asked Jared with a serious expression and a professional tone. "Will a porn recommendation service be a sufficient incentive? They plan to switch to a paid model. How many consumers do you think will pay for that service?" Gerald responded as if he had been waiting. "As you know, most of the pornographic content is being consumed illegally. However, out of the illegally downloaded content, only a small amount is actually viewed. Most of it just takes up hard drive space because it's so difficult to find what you want to watch amidst the overwhelming amount of content available. Consumers are more afraid of wasting time-consuming useless content rather than paying for it. Therefore, people willingly pay a monthly subscription to join Netflix. As more people subscribe, Netflix can lower content supply prices and collect more data. This becomes an incentive to attract more subscribers." Hyunju asked again. "Netflix offers various content like movies, dramas, documentaries, and entertainment. But face it, only has one genre, porn. What do you think about that issue? Porn is content that can be produced by individuals. The amount of porn produced worldwide in a day would be insufficient to watch in a lifetime. Besides, there are several genres within porn. There's a variety of content for subscribers to enjoy. Hyunju and Ellie looked at me. Is that a convincing argument? How much do people actually watch porn? Can't they just find and watch it whenever they want it? Women would be surprised if they knew how much time men waste searching for adult content. But I couldn't say it out loud at that moment. Unlike me, Taikyu confidently said, "What's the big deal? It's so hard to find something worth watching in the flood of adult content every day. It's an essential service." Are you kidding? What kidding? If it works out as I said, there wouldn't be a need to fill hard drives with adult content. You could enjoy adult content on your smartphone or tablet anytime, anywhere. Hyunju seemed puzzled. People can't be watching that much. Taikyu, feeling frustrated, said, "What do you know about adult content?" Hyunju couldn't put up a counterargument. It's because she actually doesn't know anything about adult content. It's the first time seeing Hyunju in such a flustered state. She probably never imagined the day would come when she'd be ignored for not knowing by her younger brother. Not even concerned that there are women present, Gerard confidently stated, "Adult content that everyone can enjoy anytime, anywhere. That's the future that Face It envisions." Alright, enough of that, Western otakus. As of the second quarter of 2024, Netflix has around an MB 277.65 million paid subscribers worldwide. As of September 2024, Netflix has a market capitalization of approximately and NBSP $180 billion. Betamax versus VHS. The battle between these two formats in the late 1970s and 1980s is often referred to as the videotape format war. Betamax, developed by Sony, indeed had superior picture quality and a more compact size compared to and NBSP. His video home system, developed by JVC. However, several factors contributed to VHS eventually dominating the market. Recording time. VHS tapes could record for longer periods, initially 2 hours, later extended to 4 and 6 hours, which was more appealing to consumers who wanted to record entire movies or TV shows. Cost and compatibility. VHS machines were generally cheaper and more compatible with other brands, making them more accessible to a broader audience. Marketing and licensing. JVC's strategy of licensing VHS technology to other manufacturers allowed for a wider range of VHS products, which helped increase its market penetration. Content availability. As mentioned, the availability of adult content on VHS played a significant role. The adult film industry adopted VHS, which helped drive its popularity. Sony's decision to restrict adult content on Betamax did indeed contribute to its decline, but it was the combination of these factors that ultimately led to VHS becoming the dominant format. Bill Watkins, the former CEO of Seagate, once made a rather candid remark during a corporate dinner. He said, "Let's face it, we're not changing the world. And NBSP, we're building a product that helps people buy more crap and watch porn." The business deal continued to progress. After the transition to a paid model, we plan to venture into creating our own content using the profits. We aim to expand into VR content production through collaborations with various production companies. VR virtual reality is gaining attention as the next-generation video technology. While VR devices have been released in various forms, there is still a lack of compelling content. Experts predict that pornography will play a crucial role in the proliferation and popularization of VR in the future. Global investment firms forecast that the VR porn market will grow to $1.5 billion within a few years. Taikyu's eyes widened in surprise. What's VR porn? It's virtual reality. Currently, wearing VR devices to watch videos is possible. Experts in various fields are researching to enhance the experience by incorporating actual senses like smell and touch. Hyunju rubbed her temples as if she had a headache. They're researching all kinds of things. As Taikyu continued to show interest, Gerard enthusiastically interjected, "Pornography will evolve from just watching to immersive enjoyment. VR porn offers overwhelming realism, unlike traditional pornography." Impressed, Taikyu exclaimed, "How did they come up with that? Did they learn it at Stanford?" Well, although the exact source of learning is unknown, Stanford has indeed produced outstanding talents. Hopefully they will succeed and eventually lecture on the porn industry at their alma mater. This is amazing, isn't it? Hyunju looked at me, her expression questioning if Taekyu's statement was correct. Well, it's true, but it's hard to admit. I wish she wouldn't ask me. As I remained silent, Taekyu looked at me and exclaimed. Why can't you be honest? You like adult videos too, just say it confidently. You were the one who told me about the new releases of the actor I liked back in middle school. Gasp. Why are you talking about that here, you crazy person? Ellie looked surprised, widening her eyes and staring at me. Do you like adult videos? I never thought I would be asked such a question by a girl in my life. I raised my hand. Oh, it's a misunderstanding. But what exactly are adult videos? Even if you know Korean, if you're not Korean, you might not know certain words. Would they believe me if I said it's baseball videos? Clap, clap, clap. Taekyu stood up from his seat and applauded. I was about to stand up too, but stopped as I looked at Hyunju, Nuna and Ellie. Instead, I silently applauded their passion in my heart. Hyunju Nuna sighed and said, Do you really think this is a feasible business idea? In Korea, pornography is strictly illegal. Both producing and distributing it are crimes. In a country where adult videos overflow on the internet, such a business is unlikely. Hence, this business can't operate in Korea. However, foreign countries are different. In countries like the US and Europe, pornography is legal. There are no legal issues. Doesn't it seem quite visionary? I reviewed the proposal once again. Unlike Japan, which mainly operates on DVD rentals in the US, there were already several sites operating on a pay-per-view or subscription basis. To survive and grow in this gap, it is crucial to establish a sophisticated recommendation system and adapt well to next-generation content markets such as VR or AR. We need $7 million for negotiations and content provision with server infrastructure and content providers. $7 million is approximately 7.7 billion Korean won. For a fledgling startup, this is a significant amount to raise. If successful, it could yield returns many times over, but if it fails, the money will simply vanish. Taekyu strongly insisted, we must invest in this for the greater good if nothing else. Indeed, this is a business that should be approached not for profit, but from a public service perspective. If it works out as planned, it could bring great joy to many people in the future. What are you waiting for, Nuna? Say you will invest already. Instead of speaking sincerely, I betrayed my friend. Since Taekyu is eager to invest this much, let's do it. I'm sorry. If this moment were a dream of my inability to be honest. Ultimately, the decision rests with me. Hyunju adjusted her expression and told Toby and Jared, we will invest in Faceit. Suddenly a question arose. Do these startups grow into unicorns because we invest in them, or do we invest in companies that will grow into unicorns? In the former case, they won't succeed without our investment. But in the latter case, they will find success with or without our investment. Whichever the case, caution is crucial in investing. Foresight tells us which startups will become unicorns, but it doesn't tell us exactly how much to invest and how much equity to buy. That's our job. Hyunju Nuna negotiated around the scope of stake acquisition. In theory, it's advantageous to have as much stake as possible if it's the same amount. However, demanding a large stake without a clear plan may harm management motivation or make it difficult to attract future investments. Our goal is not to interfere with management by acquiring as much stake as possible, but to support the company's growth and make profits. At the end of negotiations, it was decided to acquire a 42% stake for $7 million. Ellie handed over the investment contract written in English. Toby and Jared Kovas of Faceit signed first, and Hyunju Nuna signed as a representative of OTK Company. The two couldn't hide their happy faces. They probably didn't expect to find investors from a country like Korea. After the contract was signed, we shook hands again. Toby looked at us and said, Faceit will be the leader of the porn industry. Alright, that's enough now. The first startup investment concluded successfully. Well, whether it will truly be successful remains to be seen. Ellie still had a shocked expression. Hyunju Nuna sighed. Of all the companies, we chose that one for our first investment. An hour later, another meeting was scheduled. Today alone, 3 teams are set to meet. 1 team down, 2 more to go. During the break, Ellie reviewed a proposal on her tablet. It seemed like she needed to know more about the startup after what happened earlier. Similarly, while looking at the proposal, Hyunju Nuna said, "This time it's a pizza business. What kind of pizza startup is this?" I remember. When I first read the proposal, I had the same thought. It's not your typical pizza company. They aim to create innovative pizzas that completely revolutionize the concept of pizza. Taekyu asked, "What kind of innovation are they bringing to pizza?" "You'll see once you meet them." Milo, who worked at an IT company, and Max, who operated a restaurant, were friends. They often gathered at Milo's house to play games and have drinks. One day they got hungry and decided to order pizza. The pizza that was promised to arrive in 30 minutes did not show up even after 45 minutes. Over an hour after ordering, the pizza finally arrived. The pizza was cold, the cheese hardened, and even the leaked oil had the paper stuck to it. They were irritated as this wasn't the first time this had happened. "Why are delivery pizzas like this?" Max tried to calm down the frustrated Milo. "Pizzas are best when they are freshly baked. It's inevitable for the texture to deteriorate if they cool down during delivery. So if you want to enjoy a proper pizza, you should eat it at the restaurant." "Can't they keep it warm during delivery?" Max jokingly said, "Why not just put an oven in the delivery vehicle and bake while driving like a food truck?" That's nonsense. Wait, why didn't I think of that? What are you thinking? Since pizzas are made and delivered, they take time and get cold, right? If we make them during delivery, we can reduce the time and serve freshly baked pizzas to the customers right away. From that moment on, they brainstormed together. The advancement of robotic technology and automation systems was affecting the food industry. Robots that could cook by inputting recipes and robotic bartenders had already been commercialized. Currently, all pizza-making tasks, from spreading the dough and applying sauce and toppings, to putting it in the oven, are done by people. What if they introduced robots to reduce time and labor costs? They envisioned par-baking the pizzas, loading them onto delivery trucks, finishing the baking right before arrival, and handing them to customers. It may not have been a groundbreaking idea. It was simply about delivering pizzas a bit faster and warmer. Yet they saw great potential in it. They began experimenting at Max's restaurant. Instead of immediately introducing automated facilities, they first modified a truck to install an oven. Upon receiving freshly baked hot pizzas at home, customers showed great satisfaction, leading to repeat orders. Feeling confident in the business potential, Milo resigned from his job and Max converted his restaurant into a pizza shop. They decided on the name M Pizza, combining the first letters of their names. In reality, it was inefficient for trucks to make round trips just to deliver one pizza. To make a profit, they needed to scale up. While Max ran the shop, Milo planned and approached investors with his portfolio, working hard to convince them. He emphasized how much American consumers desired fresh, hot pizzas and the positive responses received upon delivery. However, investors were skeptical. The U.S. pizza market was saturated with big players like Dice Pizza, Mama's, and Pizza Hut, alongside many new startups emerging each year. With plenty of other lucrative business ideas available, was it necessary to invest in the overly competitive pizza industry? Rejected by investors once again, and on his way home, Milo received an email from Golden Gate indicating interest from Korean investors. He immediately boarded a flight to Korea. We listened to Milo's presentation in the meeting room. Since Max had to manage the store, Milo went to Korea alone. Hyunju asked several questions and Milo answered diligently. The core of the business was simple. 1. Except for essential parts, robots make the pizza. 2. Reheated in the oven just before delivery to reach the optimal taste temperature for customers. 3. Analyze various data to predict order volume and plan efficient delivery routes. 4. Cost savings from automation are reinvested in ingredients. The current size of the U.S. pizza market is approximately $40 billion. This market is dominated by 3 companies, Dice Pizza, Pizza Hut, and Mama's, which control over half of it. That's why, despite having a good idea, they couldn't secure investment. Hyunju asked me, "What do you think?" "What about you, Hyunju?" "The market is saturated and the barriers set by franchise giants are too high. To break through, there needs to be differentiation from existing companies. Simply reducing delivery time and using an oven during delivery might not be enough, don't you think?" Listening quietly, Taekyu then said, "It could be a huge success. /n. Do you have any fresh startup ideas?"